Are you taking the bar exam? Are you planning on doing it maybe in the near future or sometime down the line, but you don't have time to take off to study full time? This video is going to be all about my story, how I managed to pass the bar exam, how I work with countless students who have been working full time and who have nonetheless managed to pass the bar exam. Let's get into it. Before we get started, be sure to subscribe to this channel for more of these videos. Be sure to check us out at barcastaudio.com. We have bar exam prep, we have audio outlines, we have essay attack sheets, we have tutoring sessions, we have everything you could possibly need to pass the bar exam over there at barcastaudio.com. So let's talk about what I like to call the meat of bar prep. Passing the bar exam while studying full-time requires you to understand the meat of things. And what do I mean when I say the meat of things? The meat method, or let's call it the meat method, is what I use. It was able to help me successfully pass the Florida bar exam while I was working full-time. So in 2019, I took the uniform bar exam. I passed that. I had a really good score on that. The following year, I took the February 2020 Florida bar exam, passed that exam as well. I work with countless students, hundreds of students, who have used this meat method to pass the bar exam while they are working full-time. Now, when you're working full-time, it can feel overwhelming. It can feel like you don't have time to do everything you need to do. It can feel impossible to study all the information you need to get over the finish line to pass the bar exam while simultaneously doing your job and having the energy to be a functional human being in the interim. And the meat method, I believe, will best allow you to most efficiently use your time. So let's talk about these sort of four meat principles. The first of these, the M of our meat theory, is make the most of your downtime. So when I say downtime, your bar prep course, whatever it may be, whether it's Barcast Audio, Bar Brief, Themis, whoever it may be, they're going to give you a lot of materials to do. Odds are you're going to be doing one of these part-time programs where you'll have the benefit of having sort of a longer drawn-out study period where you can do more modular learning, where you're learning a little bit at a time, just 4 to 5 hours maybe a day as opposed to long 8, 10-hour days. Now, there are going to be moments of downtime throughout your workday where you can still get some extra studying in bed to allow you to not waste any of your workday downtime. And you can use things like audio flashcards, audio outlines, or making even physical flashcards. Maybe there's a slow moment at work. Maybe you work in an office where you have a designated area where you can listen to headphones. Use stuff like Barcast audio outlines or audio flashcards were sort of explicitly designed for situations like this to help make the most of your time while studying. On top of that, you can also do things like on lunch, make physical flashcards. I'm not saying you should completely consume your life with studying, but if you are going to do something maybe for 15, 30 minutes out of your workday, if you have that free downtime to do something active to help you proceed toward passing the bar exam, make the most of that downtime and don't feel like you're completely sort of wasting the workday away and not getting any sort of studying in. So when you do sit down at your table, at your desk, wherever you're studying later in the day, you're going to feel like you've already kind of got a head start on the day. You're a little bit more familiar with these topics and you're going to feel like you didn't really waste that day, that time. The next of our meat principles is very simply establish non-negotiable study blocks. Now, I'm going to do a whole separate video on what I call study blocking, but early on in your bar prep process, if you are working full-time, you need to establish what I call non-negotiables. And these non-negotiables are essentially blocks of time that you are setting out regardless of what happens. Come hell or high water, you are going to be studying, concentrated studying during those periods. So your phone is off, you are at a desk, free from distraction. You need to have these non-negotiable study periods. Now, some people are parents, some people have other responsibilities, so maybe from 6 to 7, that's just not a period where you can have that non-negotiable study block. But if that's the case, maybe you set from 8 to 10 or from 9 to 11, you're going to the library, you're doing something, you're completely going in the back garage to study. You need to have some sort of study block built within your day that is non-negotiable. If you are going to miss that study block, understand how you may make it up over the rest of the course of the week. Because like I said, if you are not establishing these non-negotiables early on, it can be very easy to sort of have this fall through the cracks, have your routine fall into a negative sort of situation. And by the time students figure that out, it's often very much too late, and they have too much going on between trying to catch up in bar prep, having their actual real-time job going on, to make things up, and ultimately they do fail in that situation very often. So establish non-negotiable study blocks, stick to those early on in the bar prep process, and figure out what works for you. Our next meat principle is very simply actively do something with your notes. The early days of bar prep are often consumed with lectures, video lectures, audio lectures, whatever it may be. But I want you to actually do something with those notes. It's not enough to just take those notes. You need to be doing something, whether that's taking time throughout your workday to maybe write out flashcards, whether it's listening to some sort of audio while you're at the gym, while you're on your commute, so that you're committing those rules to memory, whether you're trying just throughout your workday maybe to just jot down a legal doctrine, what you remember, what the rules you remember from the night before. Do something active with your notes. Do something active throughout the day to help better establish your understanding of the black letter law. Just writing out notes, just listening to the lectures, just watching the lectures is not going to be enough to teach you the law. You need to do something active, and with everything else you have going on, it can be very easy for law to sort of go in through one ear and come out the other, and very easy for you to forget that as time goes on, as we get closer to the exam. But by doing taking active steps to commit a lot of these rules, a lot of this black letter law to memory, you're setting yourself up for better recall come exam day. Now, the final of our principles that will help you pass the bar exam if you are working full-time is to time yourself while doing practice questions. I know that nobody, when they're working full-time, wants to go home and take a timed practice exam. It is brutal, it is unpleasant, it is not something that people typically want to do, but it is integral if you want to pass the bar exam. And too often I see students who are working full-time throw this by the wayside. They're like, I don't have the bandwidth to do this after a full long day of work. And I understand it, I sincerely do. But if you want to pass, if you really want this to be the time that you get over that hump, you need to take timed questions, timed practice essays, timed practice MBE sections. Otherwise, you're just kind of wasting your time. You need to sort of face that unpleasantness, understand that it's going to be all worth it, because you cannot adequately prepare for the exam if you're not taking these questions under timed circumstances. So our last of our meat principles is time yourself while doing practice questions, despite how unpleasant it might be at the end of a long work day. So that does it for this video. I wanted to give you some of the best tips that allowed me to pass the bar exam while I was working full-time, allowed many of the students that I've worked with to pass the bar exam while working full-time. Remember these meat principles. They are: make the most of your downtime. They are establish non-negotiable study blocks. They are actively do something with your notes, and time yourself while doing practice questions. There could be a whole other video added for mnemonics. As you can see here, I love mnemonics. They're very useful, especially when you aren't necessarily able to sit down at the table or your desk every single day and try to really drive stuff home. Mnemonics is great as a great time saver, a great efficient study tool to help you create these sort of memory palaces within your mind for legal rule statements. That does it for us here. Be sure to check us out at barcastaudio.com. Be sure to subscribe to this channel for more of these videos. In the interim, I will talk to you guys soon.